Salutations, listeners.
Sivalas Valeo.
Valar Magulis.
Nanu. Fuck, we did it again.
Yeah, we did.
That's all right.
Yeah, we did, baby.
That's good. Thank you for tuning in. This is Three Men in a Basement, and we are the Ultra Crepidarians. My name is Colin McLeod.
Mark up.
Action Jackson.
Xmas Flaxen Jackson Waxon.
That's what I hear.
In this podcast, we review movies, and we deliver to you, the listener, an average schmuck's opinion about hidden gems in the wild world of cinema.
Allegedly.
We're not... I wouldn't, stake my reputation on this. I do have my lawyer present.
Hello.
Mark, you're a lawyer.
Today.
As my chief legal counsel, I say allegedly.
Yeah. I'm more of like a tribe member legal counsel, not quite a chief yet.
Yes.
I don't know what that means, but it sounded very official, so...
Nobody knows what it means, but it's provocative.
I'm good with the bars.
I'm not skating to any song that has references to lady humps. I don't even know what that means. Back on track-ish. Back on the track of movies.
Back on path.
In the show, try to target movies that are not total blockbuster smashes. We also aim for ones that are not so obscure that you couldn't get your hands on a copy even if you wanted to. Instead, we like to go for that delightful sweet spot right in the middle. Movies that hopefully you've heard of, maybe you haven't. Ones that maybe you've seen and forgotten about. Things that we like to dust off of its obscurity on the shelf of life.
Stretch it out. Give it for you.
Yeah, kind of like, stretch it, hold it up to a light source, and peer through it like a window pane.
Like an X-ray.
Like an X-ray.
Or a Y-way.
Z-way. And we delivered...
Z-way is the best way.
It is the way.
Z-way.
I know the way.
We deliver to you our opinion about whether or not you should see these movies as well.
Sometimes you shouldn't.
No, it happens. It happens. So, in this week's episode, we reviewed the movie...
Adventures in the Babysitting.
You went full Casanova Frankenstein again. I love it. Adventures in Babysitting. Fucking Adventures in Babysitting.
Oh my god.
Pretty good. So I know we kind of want to establish this right off the bat. I've absolutely heard of this movie, but I had not seen it actually before tonight.
See, that actually that surprises me because I've seen this movie. I honestly cannot count the number of times I've seen this movie. It's one of those movies that was a mainstay, a feature of my childhood. I watched it many times every year, and I think I made a probably poor assumption that everybody was that way, or at least everybody my age was that way. But I do think, even with Mark having not seen it, this movie is among our better known movies.
I would agree. I mean, I saw this movie back in middle school, I think it was. So it's probably been about 20 years since I've seen it, but I love this movie.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, so you know what the hell we're talking about. Adventures in Babysitting. 1987 movie. Rated PG-13. Yeah. Yep. That's... it's a perfect rating. 1 hour and 42 minutes. I think this movie... I think it moves faster than that.
It does. I mean, this movie takes off at a clip.
Yeah. So I think, sort of getting into genres, I think will explain why I think it goes at a little bit greater of a clip than your average flick. So, genres, adventure, as you can imagine, Adventures in Babysitting.
Easily.
Comedy.
Yes.
Crime.
Sure.
Romance.
Yeah.
Romance and crime, or maybe, more backseat aspects of the genres.
Yeah.
I would also... And, okay, this is PG-13. There are some very adult concepts in this movie. There are 2 very strong F-bombs dropped. But I will stake my reputation that I would consider this a family movie. I wouldn't watch it with, a 5-year-old. But, when your kids get, 8, 10, 12, something like that, I think most of the adult shit is going to go over their head. Or they're going to be like, oh, that's a reference to something that I don't understand. And they're going to ignore it. As I did when I was a kid.
Yeah. Like I said, I saw this movie when I was 10 or 12.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, it's very parent dependent. There's probably a lot of parents, who would, God forbid, watch this with their kids and, come at me and be like, why the fuck did you say that? Watch that with my family. There were references to boobs.
I don't think the people of this podcast are going to do that.
You know what? You're probably right.
But I will say it's like an 80s PG-13 too. So some of the humor is dated, it's not the kind of humor, or a lot of the humor isn't the kind of humor that you would see nowadays. I think there are certain folks out there that might be particularly sensitive maybe to some of the jokes. They might feel like they're crass. But no, I would agree. It definitely has that like Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
It's just got that like 80s kind of vibe, like Hocus Pocus kind of.
Yeah, and as for the crass humor, I think like even in context in the movie, it was meant to be crass. Like it was meant to be like, oh, come on, that's offensive, kind of shit. So what I was saying earlier about like why this movie seems to move at a clip is I personally feel like proper adventure movies always move fast.
Oh, yeah.
As they should, because the idea of an adventure movie typically is you're going from one absolutely just bananas scenario to the next possibly even crazier scenario.
My classic adventure movies are always the Indiana Jones franchise and the Goonies.
And The Mummy.
The Mummy.
Oh, The Mummy.
The Mummy's action adventure, just like... But that's just it, right? It's like when one scene and crazy scenario ends, they've already entered the next crazy shit. And that's a great way to move a movie.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
You're not having characters sit in the same space, setting.
They're not just letting the Goopadoop sit.
No, you don't let the Goopadoop sit.
No,
We've
never.
established that if you let the Goopadoop sit,
Kind of your responsibility.
you won't get that smell out.
You're gonna have a bad time.
You're gonna have a bad time.
No, a proper like adventure movie, like the characters are fleshed out, not through like their like it's a different kind of fleshing out of character. You get to like understand them in an abstract way because you just see these characters bump into these kind of wild situations and scenes, and you get a feel for who they are just because of the extremes that they're put through.
So I will use this description like constantly, I'm sure, throughout this. So just like forgive me, but like this movie is so charming. It's so charming and delightful. I love how wholesome this movie is. And one of the many, many charming aspects of this movie is I love the fact that, like, it's called Adventures in Babysitting, and it is straight up a true, like, dyed-in-the-wool adventure film.
Oh, yeah.
I really appreciate that it's not like we called it Adventures in Babysitting and it's like a fucking rom-com. It's not.
No.
It's an adventure movie.
Yeah, but it's still grounded in reality. A lot of times when you hear the word adventure, you think almost like a fantasy. It's not a fantasy, but the characters throughout are caricatures in just various contexts.
Yeah. All right, so description of this movie, what do we got?
All right, we got a babysitter must battle her way through the big city after being stranded there with the kids she's looking after.
Yeah, that's the
bare bones of it.
The wireframing.
Yeah.
Who directed this movie?
Chris Columbus.
Dude, motherfucking Chris Columbus. What a baller.
Didn't
Right?
he found America?
I think he did.
Yeah, he's the guy who founded America, right?
Yeah.
He must have been old as shit when he directed this.
Yeah, dude, what a career though.
Like at least 500 years old.
Yeah, I know.
Across
It's like
the ocean blue, made a
fucking
movie?
landed in Cuba, committed genocide, directed Home Alone.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, these are like big bullet points on his resume.
Right.
Absolutely.
The multitasking, just the drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how did he have time to come up with the script while he was displacing all of the Native Americans?
And that's the mystery to his genius.
That's fair.
I heard he's got a ghostwriter. He's got a script writer.
That's,
You know what? That
that's-
would make a lot more sense.
I don't mean to detract
That's
from the
salacious.
man's accomplishments, such as committing heinous amounts of genocide in the Americas,
Yeah.
and taking people as slaves back to Europe. But I did hear that he may not have written all of his own screenplays.
Fake news.
That makes sense. I mean, how else could you found a country without actually knowing where you were and call it by the wrong name?
I mean, that's what I learned.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
So makes it real.
Chris Columbus, fucking baller director.
Absolutely.
Home Alone is
All jokes aside,
the
but,
first Harry Potter film.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Oh yeah, actually first and second. Directed The Help, Rent. I mean, Jesus Christ, he just.
Well, he's bigger than any of the actors are in this movie.
Oh, easily. I think the only one that contests him might be the star of the film.
Hold your tongue, sir.
Because Elizabeth Shue.
Oh God, Elizabeth Shue.
What a babe. Born in 1963 and still running strong.
Elizabeth Shue.
She's the whole package.
You know the phrase "if the shoe fits"? That was based off of her.
It was. Yeah. No, it absolutely was.
Yeah. And the joke of it is she fits everyone. Because she's everyone's type.
I always thought it was a footwear thing.
No. That was the joke. Was in like the mid '80s.
Yeah.
They were just like, Elizabeth Shue is so incredible. She's such an amazing actress. She's a kind and loving person. She's also drop dead gorgeous. What roles should we put her in? And the joke was, well, you could put her in any role.
Because if the shoe fits.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm learning something.
Yeah.
You know, I should have seen this movie earlier.
But oh my God, what a babe.
Yeah, I mean, just drop dead gorgeous, but also like an absolutely just monumental talent.
Yeah.
I mean, she is such a great... Even in this movie where, like, she plays 17, she's not 17, but, like, good God, she's young and she, like, just overflowing with talent.
Like, the whole vibe that I was getting from her, specifically from this movie, was like Alicia Silverstone meets Meg Ryan. So combine the acting talent and the star power of both of them, multiply it times 10, and then add like 2 to the hotness factor, and you've got Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah, but what do the shoulder pads add?
At least 5.
5 points for the shoulder pads?
Yeah.
You know, we need to bring those back.
I agree.
Shoulder pads.
I don't know if I'm on board with this.
I'm just saying, like...
How do you feel about knee pads?
Ooh.
Knee pads, I'm indifferent to.
I'm going south.
I always go south.
Leg warmers.
Ooh, I could get behind that. And
I didn't actually come down on a position, you see.
Yeah, but
I just said
he's
leg
here
warmers
for the conversation.
I am.
You want to talk leg warmers? I mean, Jackson lived a whole life.
I got skinny legs. I could use some leg warmers. I'm just saying.
Right. I mean,
Left.
you know, up or down.
But Elizabeth Shue, you know her, you love her.
If you don't, I'm coming after you.
I'm coming after you too. Karate Kid. She was also in Leaving Las Vegas. She plays a Daniel LaRusso, Ralph Macchio's character in Karate Kid, plays his love interest, and then reprised her role briefly in Cobra Kai.
She was in Death Wish.
Yeah, she is in...
She's all over. She's everywhere.
Did I say Leaving Las Vegas?
Yeah. Also, her role in Sirens.
And then, obviously, Back to the Future Part 2 and 3.
Yes.
Which was another sort of just fantastic.
Who else was in this?
Who else we got? We got Anthony Rapp, who you might not know by name, but he was...
But you know him from his rap. I mean, his rep.
Rep
Yes.
sheet.
Yes.
He was in Rent. He played Mark Cohen in Rent. He was also Tony in Dazed and Confused, the kind of like...
Fucking great movie.
Pasty white neurotic guy who like...
I mean, that fits most of the characters in that movie.
Having like sex dreams about Abe Lincoln.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty niche.
That
I don't think
that
fits most characters.
Haven't we all?
He was also in A Beautiful Mind. He plays one of John Nash's contemporaries, let's say.
Yeah. We also had Vincent D'Onofrio.
You might know him.
Possibly.
He has forever, in my mind, just been locked into his role in Full Metal Jacket.
Absolutely.
You know
what's funny is, like, I've seen Full Metal Jacket a number of times, but when I think of Vincent D'Onofrio, the first role that actually always comes to my mind is The Cell with Jennifer Lopez, which is also on our list.
Yeah.
He plays the serial killer in that, and I just, like, it's the first thing that comes into my mind when I hear his name. And then he was also Edgar in Men in Black. Edgar, your skin is hanging off your bones.
Get your big butt back in the house. Oh,
is that better? So good.
And that was like the only point in Men in Black when he actually looked like Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
Another one you might know is Bradley Whitford. So to me, Bradley Whitford will always be Sam from West Wing.
I totally understand and appreciate that is your position. But I never really watched The West Wing, even though I know he was in it.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, he will live and die as Eric from Billy Madison. The fucking, the twerpy a guy who's trying to take his dad's company and tries to sabotage Billy. He will always be that guy.
So
he was also in Get Out.
Yes.
He plays the father in Get Out. The guy who's like, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if he had run or something like that.
He was also in Parks and Rec. He was the councilman that was obsessed with ships in a bottle.
The one that she ended up ultimately replacing on the city council. Yeah. So good. And then the last one, George Newbern. I never would have been able to give you his name, but if you're a fan, and I am like a big fan of the Father of the Bride franchise. He plays the love interest of Steve Martin's daughter, right? The guy who's actually, like, in the first movie, marrying his daughter, and in the second movie is the father of his soon-to-be grandchild. Okay, so would we recommend this movie?
I think we already kind of like...
I would absolutely recommend this
fucking
movie.
to anybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think, like a no holds barred.
Yeah.
This is a good no holds barred.
If someone were looking for a fun movie to watch, I mean, this would be one of the top of the list. Like, classic movie. It's funny. It's engaging. It's
charming.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going to keep saying it.
Absolutely.
It's
like,
so
like if
charming.
you're looking for just an innocent movie to watch, this is absolutely right up there.
Yeah. It's just fun all around.
Like, there's really nothing like offensive about the movie. There are a couple points that maybe didn't age so well, but
if you want to try to get your knickers in a twist about this movie, you can probably manage it. But
any movie at that time you can.
Yeah, I'm going to sit here.
Anything made in 1987, you can poke a hole in.
Yeah, I'm going to sit here and say, I'm sorry, there's no manager. Or I'm the manager.
Yep.
Like
Sorry, Karen.
Sorry, Karen. Like, stop fucking fussing. Like, it's a fun movie.
I want that on a t-shirt. Sorry, Karen.
Thing.
Stop fucking fussing.
Yeah, I'd wear it. So that's 3 recs around.
3 recs around.
Right.
So, next question is, are we ready to...
I don't know. Mark, are we ready for... Blah, 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 blah?
We are ready for a blah, 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 but I would like to offer up this little bit.
Boy, here it comes.
Blah, 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 blah.
Didn't even make it on the mic.
Sexy. God, he went like Sweet Daddy D on us.
That was like wet.
You, I wrapped my
And
lungs
so
in
am I
lace.
101.5. W Love. Jesus.
Oh, baby.
WCLAL.
I'm gonna have to clean off my microphone.
Musty.
Well, maybe some people like a little stink on it.
Oh, there he threw the stank on that.
Drop that stank.
I'm not complaining though. I mean,
never.
I was into it. I'm
Yeah.
I'm just putting out the facts.
I was the one who was actually into.
Or was the mic into you?
Well,
Was that a recording of Mark's colon?
I may have been.
Lady never tells.
I'm going to back away from the mic so I don't get any secondhand nonsense there.
That's the... Well, you get too
third.
close to that, you get the Goopadoop.
Ain't nobody want that.
Nobody wants the Goopadoop.
Just ask Mike Tyson.
How does this movie start?
Starts with...
She's prepping for a date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a classic song playing, and she's just singing along and putting on her skirt and getting all gussied up.
Is that
little
song...
Vivaldi. For sure.
Is that song actually "And Then He Kissed Me"? Is that actually the name of that song?
I'm fairly certain it is.
And then he kissed me. It is honestly one of the greatest both intros, but also sort of like musical montage sequences, in my opinion, from the 80s. It opens literally with Elizabeth Shue dancing around her room, getting ready for a date she's clearly very excited about.
Using every pointy object in the room as a microphone.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Except for a knife brush.
I didn't see any knife brush. No stiletto brushes.
Because she's a reasonable consumer and she doesn't buy knife brushes.
No brush kebabs.
God, Slither.
Gross.
But she's getting really jazzed about this date.
As we all do.
Yeah, I've been known to. Circa 20 years ago.
I went on a date just the other day. With my wife.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you dance around your room too?
I
Then he kissed me?
I did. And she was looking at me with the weirdest look on her face, like, who the fuck are you?
Mm-hmm.
And why are you doing this? And I just said, sit back and relax, baby, enjoy it.
Did she show up at your door and say that her little sister was sick and she can't go on the date with you?
She has once, but to be fair, it was true.
Because that's what happened in the movie.
Right.
With the dweeby fellow. What's his name?
It's not
Bradley Whitford.
Yeah, it's not Todd, but like for all intents and purposes, it's a Todd.
Mike Toddwell.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well,
Mike Toddwell.
They had to fit a Todd in there.
Bradley Whitford.
Sure, Mike Toddwell.
Mike Toddwell was this character.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so Todd, bit of a D-bag.
Mike.
Mike Todd. Todd Mike. Mike
That's
Toddwell.
both were pretty fitting.
Fair.
She's disappointed, obviously, and then like within 5 minutes, her mother reaches out or something and lets her know that there's somebody else needs a babysitter.
Yeah, a call comes in. And it's like, hey, so and so from down the street needs a babysitter. Can you do it?
The Andersons,
Mr.
Anderson,
the Andersons. Okay, I'm not gonna like go hard on new band name. I call it, but the Andersons were definitely like a family quintet in the 1970s that performed on variety shows.
The Anderson sisters were a duet that performed at the USO in like 1940.
Yeah, I actually knew that somehow.
Why are you guys looking at me?
Well, you didn't add to the Anderson sister trivia.
Fascinating.
Yeah, there we go. That's all.
That's a fascinating.
That's all we were looking for.
Fascinating factoid.
Is it too much to ask for a little participation? God damn it!
Rude.
When
I bring up
learned something today.
That's all we asked for.
It's patronizing.
Jeez.
Okay, so babies.
So
they went.
So there's a tiny bit of exposition when her mom comes in to tell her about the babysitting job with her best friend Brenda, who's sitting on the bed with her after she gets like sort of not stood up, but plans canceled for this date. And basically, it gets revealed that Brenda hates her parents, and actually up to and even including threatening to, I don't know, is this mom or stepmom, spike her tab with Drano.
Yeah, classic.
And so clearly there's friction at home. Chris
Parker,
presumably short for Christine, played by Elizabeth Shue, she decides to babysit. Brenda leaves. She goes to the Andersons.
So they're going out for a party. The parents are. They'll be back at 1 a.m. They make sure they mention that. Kind of give them just some basic instruction here and make sure the girl gets her cough syrup or whatever.
Make sure Brad doesn't eat any chocolate on account of his acne. And make sure that Sarah doesn't skip her cough medicine because she has a bit of a cold.
A little bit.
So there are two kids. Sarah is, 10?
Maybe.
8? 10?
8 or 10, yeah.
9. Could be 9.
Could be 9.
Let's split the difference. We'll say 9.
Yeah,
8, 9 or 10.
She's a 9-year-old.
It's funny, like, you don't want to guess an odd number for some reason, unless it's 5.
Right.
Like, you will guess 1, 5, 15, but
it's
you
like
don't...
me with the volume knob. It has to either be an even number or a multiple of 5.
Yep. So she is 8 or 10, meaning she's very likely 9.
Yeah.
And Brad, the boy, is 15, and you get the sense that like he's right on the cusp of like
manhood.
Well, manhood certainly, but he's right on the cusp of like the babysitter's not for him; it's for her, it's for the girl, but they don't feel comfortable leaving him there alone until 1 a.m.
But also the babysitter is for him.
No, he is quite infatuated.
Taken with her. Which
who
wouldn't be?
I would be.
I mean, if the shoe fits, If the shoe fits.
Wear it.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
That one got me.
Okay, so babysitter shows up, parents leave, boom, there's a knock at the door. It's Daryl.
Fucking Daryl.
Daryl, played by Anthony Rapp, the fellow from like Dazed and Confused and Rent and all that. He is
a pervert.
A pervert, also a goober.
Yes. Kids going to prison.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't exactly call him a big dumb bohunk, but he's
a little dumb bohunk.
He's a little dumb bohunk. That's it. That's what it is. He's a little dumb bohunk.
Yeah, he's the comic relief. He's necessary.
He is. He's also like super pervy.
Yeah, he's like Ron Weasley's like second cousin that like
he's like Ron Weasley and Ron Jeremy put together.
Oh
God.
I mean,
with a little bit of Ron White thrown in.
Maybe. Yeah. That's nasty.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Okay, 1, 2, boom.
Buckle my shoe. He said boom. I thought he was going to say buckle my shoe. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Brenda calls.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Chris, I'm downtown. I ran away from my parents.
I did it. She says, I did it.
Yeah.
And then Chris says, you spiked her tab with Drano?
No, worse. Oh, but it's great. When she's on the phone with her, she's in a payphone. Obviously, this is the 80s. Nobody has a cell phone. But there's this, like, homeless man who is trying to get into the phone booth because he's got his, like, pair of slippers in there. Oh, my God. It was so
There's
hilarious.
Slippers and a can of Spam and...
Yeah, at this point, the movie kind of like shifts tone a little bit, and it almost becomes... It's not a cartoon, obviously, but like the characters that you see downtown are cartoonish in nature. You know, they're all super exaggerated. Like, kind of from this point forward, you know, it's kind of the beginning of the adventure. They haven't left home yet, but I think the adventure really kind of starts here when they start showing.
This is the call to
characters.
action. The quite literal, like the telephone call to action.
Yeah.
And Mark undersold Brenda's hysteria. Mark
Oh
is
my
like,
God, she's screaming and
Brenda,
crying.
Brenda called and she's like, I'm at the bus station and I would like you to pick me up.
No, she swears she's gonna die. There's a dude with a gun who's making manic faces at her.
To be fair, I also would think I was going to die if a man in a trench coat, like, in a crazy look and a disheveled
whips
features,
out a gun and smiles at you.
whips out a gun, like, not only whips it out, but, like, pulls it out from underneath his trench coat, clearly to show it to me, and then makes a, oh yeah, face.
Oh, it's
That's
definitely a penis flasher just with a gun.
That's exactly what it is. You're right. It is exactly the motion or the circumstance that you would find somebody flashing with, like, a long trench
It's a 38
coat.
caliber phallus.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yuck.
And his creepy
New
smile.
band name, I call it.
38 caliber phallus?
Yes.
That's hard rock.
Nope.
Set of
That's
rocks.
Cold Steel.
Okay.
That Cold Steel is their #1 hit single.
So at this point, she realized she needs to save Brenda. She's kind of panicking a little bit. She kind of does this throughout the movie, where she's just pacing back and forth, trying to like make sense of her predicament. Through a little bit of back and forth, she ends up throwing the kids plus Daryl in the car. They head downtown.
They are not supposed to go downtown, so this is very hush-hush. There's a lot that happens that's sort of like relevant to later events in the film. Daryl brings a Playboy that has a centerfold that looks exactly like Elizabeth Shue.
Miss March.
Ooh.
She's
Shailene.
Bunch of perverted Dracs over here.
Hey, they reproduce asexually. That's fine.
It's true.
So, the Playboy ends up getting tossed out the window. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Shue's character, Chris, is telling a ghost story about a psycho killer who scrapes off people's faces with a hook hand. And then immediately their tire blows out and they end up on the side of the freeway in, like, you know, the just, like, outskirts of
Right
Chicago.
outside of downtown Chicago.
Yeah, they're right outside, like, the high rises in Chicago, and handsome J.B. Pruitt shows up.
Yeah.
With a
J.B.
hook.
Pruitt,
For a hand.
tow truck driver, shows up, gives him a wave with his,
Excuse me, tow truck driver extraordinaire.
Oh, absolutely. Like, he's got a JP in, like, Christmas lights emblazoned on the front of his truck. Mm-hmm. His hood ornament has, like, his last name spelled out. Like, it's a whole thing of beauty.
Pretty solid.
His hood ornament has hood ornaments.
Yes.
So it's sort of established that not only does she have a flat tire, but she also left her purse back at the house. So they've got no money.
Or ID.
Yeah. But anyhow, she communicates that to JP.
Handsome JP Pruitt.
Handsome. Yes, yes. They're in the car. He gets a phone call.
Yeah.
Wait.
No, over the radio, the CB radio.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I'm like thinking, it's a phone call. They don't have phones, cell phones. But yeah, over the radio, gets word that there's a car in front of his house, and
He knows what car it is.
Yeah.
we know who it is.
It's the man playing hide the salami with his wife.
Lost it.
And lost it. I can't find it. Where'd it go? That's never good. That's never good. Don't do that.
Genuine concern.
So he fucking, like, sees red and just starts driving like a fucking maniac towards his house. Nothing that the babysitter or the kids are saying is registering for him, and he is just fucking screaming down the road.
Oh, he's hightailing it.
Before all of this happened, he told them that he lost his hand by an 18-wheeler after a jack gave out. It fucking landed on his hand and popped it off. And then he kept it in the glove compartment. And they opened that glove compartment, and what do they find?
A hand. Gun.
That was more clever than I anticipated. That got me. That got me.
I've been sitting on that for the whole movie.
Yeah, so he's got a gun, like a little snub-nosed revolver, and he fucking, like, literally, like, parks on his fucking lawn, runs into the house.
Start shooting!
And yeah, you hear, like, gunshots going off, punches being thrown. This fucking guy gets thrown through the goddamn window in the front. It's not J.B. Pruitt. He was doing the throwing. This dude is
defenestrating.
Yeah, this dude is trying to like zip up his pants after being defenestrated, and the gun is going off. The wife is trying to stop JB from shooting this fella.
Don't hurt him!
Don't hurt him.
Not gonna hurt him. He's gonna fucking kill him.
A bullet goes through their car windshield, so now the car has a blown tire and a windshield with a bullet hole.
Yeah.
Also, one hits the side of the truck that they're in, and so they decide to get out of the truck. They find a car on the opposite side of the road, and the guy who was doing the pork dumpling guy, he is running towards the car, so they decide to get in the car, and they go to lock the car doors, and they all lock simultaneously, and up pops Joe.
Yeah. Joe Gipp.
And Joe is a good fella.
He's the kindest car thief you'd ever hope
If
to meet.
anyone were to steal my car, I'd want it to be Joe.
Honestly, I'd want it to be Joe, too.
Yeah.
Joe could steal me.
I'd be fine with that.
I'd be fine. I mean, I literally, like, if I was just sitting on my couch and, like, Joe came in, picked me up, I was like, I'm stealing you.
Yeah, he stole my heart.
He's like, all right, let's go.
Where are we going?
Where are we going, Joe? We're going to a chop shop downtown?
We're going to Chop Shop downtown.
You gonna take my kidney?
So
Where did
I'm
they,
not using
where,
it.
Where did they go? To a shop downtown.
a shop.
Chop.
A shop. Yep. So,
Chop.
and it's so funny. He like
Chop
rolls
suey.
up, hits a button, and this like the garage door opens up, and there's just like sparks like coming out. Like they're
Very like classic '80s chop shop.
Oh, yeah.
Imagery. Yeah. On their way there, I love. She's like, could you just like pull over to the next corner and let us out, please? And this is sort of the way they explain away why Joe did not drop them off immediately. He just goes, in this neighborhood, I wouldn't get out of the car in this neighborhood. I fucking love that line so much because it's so like, oh, you are in the shit right now. Like, you are literally safer coming with me
With
to
a car thief.
to my organized crime syndicate's headquarters than getting out of the fucking car in this neighborhood.
Yep. So that's what they do. They head straight to the chop shop, pull in. The administrators of said chop shop are a little frustrated, perhaps, that Joe brings back a whole bushel of children.
My favorite line in this whole scene is that the underboss, if you will.
Yeah, second in command.
Yeah. He's asking Joe about, the car. And he's like, any defects? And he goes, yeah, there were a few. And that's when the kids get out of the car, and it's very clear.
I fucking love it when he just like hauls off and punches Joe. And
Yep.
like, he realizes the situation. He's like, you brought him to our shop. Like, you fucking, like, they could go to the cops. They know where our operation is. He just hauls off and punches him, and then Joe just goes like, God, dude, he's like, damn it, man, like, don't hold back, like, tell me, what do you say? Don't hold it in, show me you're upset, or something like that.
Yeah, no, it was a good little quip. So the children are sent up into an upstairs office by the big boss. They say, they're gonna finish up their meeting and deal with them later.
Who, like, is just the most evil guy I've ever
Oh,
seen.
dude, by far.
He was cast so well. He's like, as far as movie villains go, this is not the guy who would pop into my head. But if I had him on a sheet, right, and I had him in my head, I'd be like, fucking this guy. This is one of the best. Like, your head goes to like the big villains, right? But like,
yeah. No, he's right up there with face-melting Nazis.
he is, and he's got this voice that's just like, take the Brady Bunch upstairs, and you're just like, oh my god, this guy's gonna kill him.
It's like this guy was like a smoker for like 40 years, quit, and then just started like holding sand in his mouth.
Yeah, yeah. He's
the
like,
next 10.
take the Brady Bunch upstairs, and we'll deal with them after the meeting.
Yeah, and he's got these like really sort of sharp features, and he's got these expressions that are just like, the guy has no expression that is not like at least
Menacing.
80 to 85% vitriol.
Yeah.
Like this guy knows nothing but fucking like rancor and hate.
But he's,
Like, you could stop and ask this guy for directions, and he would just look at you and go, directions?
Directions. And you're just like,
And you're just like, I don't need directions.
I'm-
In fact, you can have my car.
I am sorry, sir.
but what's funny
I'm
is
sorry.
like, physically he was not intimidating. Like
No.
he wasn't like a large person. He just like a shriveled up weasel of a man. But,
Yeah.
like, just intimidating in his like
But he's such a-
repugnance.
Yeah, he's such a great actor because he literally carried around with him this air of like, this dude kills people.
Yeah.
Like, this dude is just all
Actually,
bad.
this dude doesn't kill people anymore. He has people do it for him. That's how bad this guy is.
Yeah, I should have clarified. That's what I mean. It's like, this dude just gives orders for people to die.
Yeah.
Yep. So they end up kind of breaking out of the office, more or less. They look up to the ceiling and they see there's like a loose vent. They crawl up out of that and they end up getting up onto the roof of the shop. Ooh, but as they're leaving, Daryl, who's a pervert through and through, sees just a random Playboy sitting on the desk.
Exact same issue that was thrown out the window, and he's like, yes, it's my chance to reclaim what was lost.
No,
This is a big issue.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
really is.
It's the March issue.
Yeah.
It was on billboards. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's weird.
I've seen a lot of things in my life. A billboard advertisement for Playboy magazine, not among them.
Nope.
Yeah, a little atypical. Yeah. So...
He lifts this Playboy, and he stole it to replace the one that had been thrown out the window on the freeway earlier. And almost immediately, we learn that the Playboy was actually kind of significant because it actually had notes for this meeting that all of the big bad baddies were having down there. And so they go up to, like, get the Playboy that had these notes.
It had all the details of the Pittsburgh order.
That could put us away for 20 years.
It's exactly how he said it.
It's the exact amount of just, like, fucking, I don't want to call it cheese, but, like, for lack of a better term, like 80s cheese that you want. Like, it's not over the top. It's right up to the top. Yeah. And you're just like, God damn it, this movie is fucking
It's
perfect.
like that. It's like when you order a beer and they fill it all the way to the rim and the head is just coming right over the top, but not a drop spills over. It's like,
It's kind of reminded me of what's-her-face from Monsters, Inc., you know?
Roz.
Mike Wazowski.
Late again, Wazowski.
You forgot to turn in your paperwork.
Yeah, it was that voice.
One of these days, Wazowski.
All right.
One of these days.
So they're running. So they
You could quote that movie forever.
Oh no, it's amazing. So they end up getting out this window, but basically by the time they get down the fire escape into the alley, the guys have already discovered that they've disappeared.
They've lost the nudes.
Yeah, and they basically the guys run out into the alley and find them right there. So they take off down the alley and reach a chain link fence that's chained shut, and they run into the door that's like right next to it, and they run literally like down this hallway through a curtain, and they are on the stage in this blues club that is just jam-packed with people, and the guys are just finishing a song, and they go to like move, and this like fella with the guitar, total badass, like hardcore sort of like old-timey blues character, the kind of guy who like the last time his lips and jaw moved were like 1971, right? This dude's jaw is completely set, and he can communicate everything that he needs to communicate by talking through a completely unmoving and stoic expression. And he goes, "Ain't nobody leave this place without singing the blues." And he just kind of like uses his guitar to sort of block them from leaving.
And she's like, "What?" He goes, "Ain't nobody leave this place without singing the blues."
And so they end up singing the Babysitting Blues. Fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. Like, it was a musical number in the middle of the movie, but it didn't feel like a musical. Like, it felt very organic.
Yeah.
You know?
No, she introduces herself, and after she's like, "Hey, my name is Chris Parker," then you get that classic blues riff. And she starts telling the story, and then they go in riffing, and he's like, "I got the babysitting blues."
Yeah.
It's amazing. And they're the three kids are like singing backup, and you know the whole club like the whole club is completely silent, like pin drop silent, staring at them like, what the fuck are you doing on the stage? So after they begin playing, like the club starts warming up, and by the end of their song, the club is going absolutely bananas.
Like total bad shit.
And they literally like leave the stage into a crowd that is like
standing ovation, like
high-fiving them and like doing this whole thing,
And the bad guys have kind of like snuck in through the back, and I think it's around this time that like both the bad guys and the kids are in the club at the same time, but the club is so crowded that like the kids are kind of making their way for the door, and the bad guys kind of can't make their way there. They get confronted by the bluesman.
Yeah, by the same guy. And he says the exact same thing to him. Ain't nobody leave this place without singing the blues, and kind of pushes his guitar, and he's basically like, nope, no leaving. And so, like, basically that hold up from the lead singer and guitarist allows them to sort of make their escape.
Yeah. And that's good.
So they run out of there, and is the next stop
I think it's the frat house.
Well, so there's a
Kappa party.
There's a brief scene where they're sort of walking along train tracks in and amongst some of the more like derelict members of society.
Yeah, so there's like a bunch of hobos around a trash can fire, and a couple of, shall we say, ladies of the evening, streetwalkers.
They was hookers.
They was hookers.
And of
Daryl
course,
immediately finds them.
Oh,
Women
yeah, Daryl's
of
into it.
ill repute.
I don't know about ill. They look pretty healthy. But Daryl straight up, like, runs off from the group. And before we even know why, Brad is, like, sort of declaring his feelings for Chris.
Oh yeah, with no compunction. Just,
No. No, he's like, you shouldn't be with Mike. Like, give the other guys a chance. And she's like, oh yeah? Guys like what? And he's like, I don't know. I mean, like, for example, me?
Come on.
And she laughs in his face.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good line, but it probably wouldn't work.
And then he immediately, he's like, you're just a silly girl. What do you know? Blah, blah, blah,
My feelings are hurt. And he prances away.
Yeah. But then we find Daryl talking to one of the ladies of the evening of ill repute streetwalker prostitute hookers.
Is that a night pigeon?
I believe so, yeah.
A night pigeon. That's it. A night pigeon. I believe they call those bats, Mark.
I'm Batman.
No, you're night pigeon man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Does anything come of his conversation with the...
No, they didn't actually get to do anything.
It does remind
it
them.
reminds them that... So the lady of the night, it turns out that she is...
17 years
She's
old.
17. She's the same age as Elizabeth Shue's character. And when they ask her, like, why is she on the street, she says, I ran away from home. And that reminds them that, like, fuck... We got a timetable here. Brenda is still stranded.
Yeah.
And they're walking down the street, and Sarah, the girl, starts complaining about having to go to the bathroom.
But before we get to that point, they cut back to Brenda, who is back at the bus station going absolutely batshit crazy and losing her mind because she's stranded there.
Somebody may or may not have lifted Brenda's glasses.
Yeah, she's just sitting on a bench, like she's not passed out, but she's just beside herself. She takes her glasses off and sets them down.
She's rubbing her eyes,
Yeah, and this homeless lady is just kind of sitting next to her and notices that her glasses are put down and just kind of eyeballs them and kind of slowly inches over and then grabs the glasses, tries them on. They work for her, and so she leaves her kind of tattered sunglasses in place. It's a great little bit.
Is the lady actually homeless? Because later we do find out that she lives at the same address as the old man.
Right.
That's true.
In their phone booth.
Yeah.
So, well, who knows?
Who knows? Maybe that was her former address, and she's forwarding her mail.
Yeah.
Brenda mistakes a street rat, and I'm not talking about Aladdin, for a street cat because she can't see. And
Just really dampens her whole night.
yeah, she was petting a rat. Which, I mean, I've had pet rats. They're amazing pets. They're super smart. They're totally hygienic. They wash their hands more than people I know.
Were they jumbo-sized sewer rats?
They were not. They were not.
That's a jumbo-sized sewer rat.
That's an ROUS. It's a rodent of unusual size.
I've been to the fire swamp. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll never survive.
I built a summer home there.
All right.
You're just saying that because no one ever has.
Yeah. So the younglings got to pee.
So they end up...
At a Kappa party.
Yeah. Kappa Lapa.
Yep. I think it was Kappa Beta Thigh.
Papa Kappa? Papa Kappa in your ass?
Papa cap up your thigh.
Kappa Fila Thigh.
No cap.
No cap.
Eh.
That's all fact.
So they end up at a bro-y frat party.
University of Chicago.
And she gets to use the bathroom. Chris, Elizabeth Shue's character, meets a nice older gentleman. He is
He's a college kid.
A sophomore in college. In the college.
He's a Kappa kid.
And he treats her right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a weird angle, but he just kind of is genuinely...
Yeah, he's
He's
a cool
just
guy.
a genuine nice guy.
That's the fella who plays the son-in-law and father of the bride.
Yeah.
and they end up giving her
$45.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it's man.
Well, fuck, we missed something.
Oh, dude, we skipped a huge scene.
I knew there was I knew there was something we were missing. So after they were coming out of the Blues Club,
they get on the subway.
They actually get chased by those guys a little bit more. They run into the subway. They jump over the turnstiles. They get into the train car, and the guys like just miss them. They take off, and they're not in there 30 seconds. And these fellas, your sort of classic 80s, big city gang, right?
Yeah, it's like the
Sharks
intro,
and Jets, man.
It's like the intro scene to the music video Beat It.
Yes, exactly. No, it's exactly like that. Like red pleather bandanas, chains, switchblades, and they like
West Side Story, baby.
They break in on one side of the train, and they're all like tough, and they're coming like in mass.
They're gonna rumble.
It's kind of like the Blob, like just a blob of people coming in. They're like just starting to process this, and the other side of the train fucking busts open, and there's another blob of people in different colors coming forward, and they're like tough talking each other, and they're one of them owns the train and the other one owns the turf, and they're about to fight, and she stands up and is like, okay, could you like maybe just wait until we get off the train?
Like, it's clear that you two are gonna kill each other, and that's totally fine, but could you wait until we're off the train to do it?
Just wait until we're off the train to murder each other. And the guy says, sit down, bitch. And Daryl goes, oh, are you gonna let him talk to her like that? And Brad gets up, and he's like, Daryl's like, oh god, I was kidding. And he like gets in this like gang guy's face, and he's like, you better apologize, blah blah blah. And he like insults him, and the guy just goes like, you can't keep your foot out of your mouth, kid. Let me help you. And he throws his switchblade into the ground, and it like fucking goes through Brad's
Pins
foot.
his foot to the
Pins his foot to the ground, and he says, don't fuck with the lords of hell. And then Chris pulls the knife out of his foot, just waves it in the guy's face, and goes,
she goes, don't fuck with the babysitter.
Don't fuck with the babysitter. And he's like, all right, baby, chill out. Yeah. So they end up getting out.
Get to a hospital.
Yeah, and they have to go to a hospital. Yeah. And
luckily, the next stop is the hospital.
Yep. So at the hospital, and we can kind of breeze through this so we can get back to what we were talking about, but they bump into JP, the tow truck driver, and he lets them know, I've got your car back at the shop. It's been fixed up.
I paid for the windshield, but you got to pay for the tire. It's going to be $50.
Yep. So just get back to the shop. $50. You got your car. Okay.
Then they go wandering, end up on sort of Skid Row, and then they end up at the frat party.
Great band.
So this is why the nice guy at the frat party was willing to give them the $45. It gets them kind of right up to the point, $5 short of them having enough to get their car back.
So in addition to the peeing and the sexy dancing that was going on at this party,
Daryl makes out with a college girl.
Daryl finds
companionship,
exactly.
A drunken maiden.
Drunken Maiden.
I was just going to say
Iron Maiden's cover band.
Yes.
Drunken Maiden. Anyway,
but you can't say it like this. Drunken Maiden!
Drunken Maiden!
Drunken Maiden, you're the best!
Yeah.
Play Aces Fly!
Son of the Sun.
The fuck?
Drunken Maiden. That's why they leave in such a hurry, is he finds companionship, starts making out with this chick, and it turns out...
to get in a fight with her boyfriend.
Yeah, it turns out her boyfriend did not take kindly to that, which, like...
To be fair, he's a big dumb bohunk.
He's just such a big dumb bohunk. Like, And Daryl, I mean, admittedly, he's a little dumb bohunk, but, like, still, it's not reason to get your, sort of knickers in a twist.
You can't put your big dumb bohunk paws all over a little dumb bohunk just for kissing your girl.
No.
That's what
he
say.
didn't touch her. He's just a child.
He did say that.
It gets a little dark when you start thinking about
the way he put it, yeah.
He starts swapping genders. Things get real uncomfortable.
But they end up sort of leaving the party in a hurry, shall we say. And new handsome guy drives them to Dawson's garage, and then...
Which is adjacent to the creek, I think.
Yeah.
Yes,
Before the creek, after the laboratory.
Which has been an absolutely just like a nightmare from an environmental standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
Runoff from the garage, I mean, you've got oil, chemicals, you got windshield wiper fluid.
All the slag from the welding.
Yes, running into the creek.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's why there was all the drama.
That's it.
Oh my god, Vanderbeek was pissed.
I mean, at least 3 of those characters in Dawson's Creek had lead poisoning as a result of this.
The beak from the creek.
Creek beak.
Yeah, he was James Van Der Face when it started.
Yeah.
And then he mutated and had, that beak grow, and they're like,
You know-
I don't know if this fits him anymore.
Vanderbeek actually made his own line of jeans, and the tagline was, "You haven't lived till you've put your cheeks in a pair of beaks."
Oh, man, that's classy.
I would buy them just because of that tagline.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So they end up at Dawson's garage, and against the better judgment of everybody in the movie and all of the viewing audiences who've ever seen this movie, she allows the guy, it not only allows him, but instructs him to leave without confirmation that they have, in fact, retrieved the car and everything is fine. They walk into this, vacant garage, and this elevated platform being lowered with, fucking compressed air being blown around is very dramatic.
Giant piston with, a welded platform starts descending with just compressed air shooting off like an 80s music video.
It's dry ice, bro.
Yeah.
It's a lot of dry ice.
Better than wet ice. And
Fucking Thor.
And Thor descends.
Vincent
Or
D'Onofrio.
Or Vincent D'Onofrio. Or
Mr. Dawson.
Dawson
It's Creek.
Creek. Yes, one of those three things did descend, depending on who you ask.
It was kind of weird in that, his character, you almost got the impression that, this guy was not playing with a full deck,
Did you?
That was kind of my impression.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I never really got that impression from him.
That, yeah.
I mean, he's a mechanic in Chicago.
I think he was just an asshole.
There is that.
He certainly, his speech didn't suggest that.
I don't know, maybe.
His hair was far too clean to be a mechanic, though.
Okay, so he descends, and immediately Sarah begins, bowing to him and, pledging her allegiance to him.
We should mention, Sarah has posters of Thor all over her room. She draws pictures of Thor. She's dressed like Thor. She has Thor's helmet, Thor's cape. She wields a little hammer.
And this is not a one-off. Literally the entire movie, she is wearing Thor's helmet, Thor's cape, Thor's boots, and has Thor's hammer at her side.
Yeah.
And so they give him the money, and he's like, this is 45, get the fuck out of here, you owe me 50. And Chris tries to explain, he's like, I don't want to hear it, get out of here, jerks. And Sarah's obviously all hurt and offended, and I thought you helped people, blah, blah, blah. Then she's like, I know why you're not acting yourself, you don't have your special helmet. So she, goes to give him her helmet, and it,
And his heart grew 3 sizes that day.
It's it. And you can now touch him with something less than a 19.5-foot pole.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it really, it changed his disposition. He was like, oh my god, this kid is actually,
kind of a sweetheart.
Yeah. Which, actually, I do want to rewind for, real quick for an example of, the wholesomeness of this movie. And that girl, she's kind of a pain in the ass for a lot of reasons. She definitely doesn't know when to keep her mouth shut. And she, runs off for no reason, once or twice. And she thinks she's tougher than she is. But she's a very sweet girl, and she's very kind, and she's very thoughtful. And, they're the scene when they're in the chop shop and they're trying to go over the rafters. Daryl says something like, what if I fall? And she goes, I won't let you fall. And Daryl goes, thanks, Sarah. It was such a heartfelt scene. This 8-year-old, 9-year-old girl is going I won't let you, the 130, 140 pound 15-year-old boy, fall from this girder that we're walking across. So Dawson, he has a change of heart, lets him have it for 45. They get in the car and leave. They are on their way to pick up Brenda, and they end up inadvertently pulling up in front of a French restaurant, which just so happened to be where Elizabeth Shue's boyfriend, Mike, who canceled on her in the beginning of the movie, was going to take her. That was the reason she was getting ready in the beginning of the movie, and she gets all depressed, and she's like, oh, that's where I was supposed to go with Mike tonight. Meh. And Daryl says, well, it looks like he may have gone without you, or he still went, or something like that. And Mike's Camaro is sitting there with the license plate. So cool.
So cool.
So cool.
So cool. So naturally she feels a certain way about that.
Why?
Well, I think
Girls get a little sensitive when their boyfriends lie to them.
monogamy.
Ugh.
That's what I say.
That's what Mark says.
My daughter says that a lot, too.
She does. Yeah.
Right. I think she's trying to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Monogamy.
Monogamy. Monogamy. Monogamy. Sorry. All right.
I was going to keep going.
Yeah, we all night. I'll go all night.
She confronts Mike the D-bag.
So cool.
So cool.
It goes exactly how you would expect, right?
Yeah,
She
yeah,
goes
yeah.
and confronts him, like, you're an asshole, blah, blah, blah. Brad gets in his face, then Daryl kicks him in the butt, and he ends up, like, falling on a fucking table, and it's pretty glorious.
And all this time, little Sarah is no longer in the scene.
Yeah, there was a dessert cart, and they show her, like, going to pick up one of the desserts, and then she just, like, fucking disappears. Turns out that she ran down the road to go and look at toys in a toy store window, and the bad baddies find her. And they try and get her in the car. She fucking takes off running. And
As one does.
As one does. When bad baddies are chasing you, what are you going to do? Not going to stand there.
Nope. Who are you going to call?
I mean, if Ghostbusters line is busy,
Then you
which
look for your daddy's skyscraper.
in 1987, presumably the Ghostbusters line was very busy.
Oh, I believe it.
You got to run.
Right.
And her dad works in a very distinct building in downtown Chicago, so she runs towards that. After the confrontation with Mike, Chris and the boys realize that Sarah's not there. They run around trying to find her. They see the building and realize she probably ran there. And they all head to the skyscraper.
So Sarah goes through the revolving door, and the big bad baddies are right behind her on her tail. And they get pinned in the door because she's, pushing it open. And one of the bad baddies rips her Thor cape off, and it goes, just off to the side. She runs in, jumps into the elevator, presumably to go to the floor where her parents are, and ends up going to the very tippy top of the skyscraper, which appears to be under construction in a Die Hard sort of way. There's just like cables and spools of stuff, and like there's a window that's open. So
Generic construction.
yeah. So she runs toward the window, as one does,
No, of course.
and starts scaling the building.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she does that. The bad guys are kind of like, again, right on her tail. When she's in the elevator, she's got some of that snack still on her finger, so she hits two different buttons. And so they separate. One of them goes to one of the buttons with like the smudge on it. The other goes to the other. There's this fun little bit where the baddiest of bad guys,
The boss.
King Batty.
King Batty Boss, he ends up in the same
King
room.
Batty. Dude, King Batty, I'm sorry, like King Batty, that's a fucking band.
Yeah.
What is King Batty? What are they? I feel like King Batty could either be a rapper or like a 1980s like hair metal band.
Oh, see, King Batty gave me like 2005 pop punk vibes.
Ah, okay.
I was thinking it was like a David Lee Roth thing where like maybe he started in a band and then just kind of went solo with King Batty.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Ozzy or
Like Sebastian Bach.
Danzig.
Jesus, we're all over the place.
Yeah, so is King Batty.
King Batty cannot be pinned down.
No.
King Batty is...
He's everywhere.
That's the one thing that we know about him. Or her, really.
That's true. Or them.
Could be.
It's 2022, man. You can be whatever you want.
I'll be whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
That's...
I'll do whatever I want to be.
I'm going to be that what you do.
Oh no, he's gonna beat it on our dues. Not good! Panic! Scatter!
Okay, so babysitter, rest of the kids catch up with, or they end up figuring out that yes, Sarah went to.
Mommy and Daddy's building.
Yep. So they go up in there. There's some funny shtick where both the babysitter and the bad baddie are in the same room that the parents are in. It's just it's fun hijinks.
Very hijinkical.
Hijankies.
So
Ooh, they see Sarah in the window.
yeah, so Chris sees Sarah in the window. She and the boys go a few floors up. The other chocolatey button. Ooh, chocolate button. Ooh, the chocolate button is definitely... We all know what the chocolate button is.
You get the Goopadoop.
You don't tap on the chocolate button or you get the Goopadoop.
So there is one really delightful scene.
Can we keep going with the chocolate button?
I mean, I'm all for the chocolate button. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm all about the chocolate button.
No, you like the chocolate button. We know that. We know that.
Yeah, you've got a chocolate button, I've got a bloomin' onion.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know what I got.
I can tell stories.
Get the sad grape.
I get this. Don't saddle me with that.
It's like a pre-raisin.
Yeah.
No, it's a whole bunch of grapes. No, admittedly, they're all sad, but it's all right. It's hemorrhoids.
The fruit has turned.
Like the grapes of wrath.
It's just one
They
lone
move
rectum.
on from anger and just go into depression.
It's just one lone rectum.
Do the sad grapes grow from the chocolate button?
I think so. If you
think so.
push the chocolate button too hard, you get sad grapes.
You get a blooming onion, but if you just keep pushing it, you'll get sad grapes.
Yep.
It's so gross.
The lesson here, let's be honest, is just
Don't poke the chocolate button.
Poke the chocolate button, because you will get the Goopadoop.
Yeah.
And that will undoubtedly turn into a bloomin' onion, or God forbid, sad grapes.
Just don't keep pushing the button.
So they run up to.
Well, before we go
ahead.
back to that, there's a delightful scene in which the king baddie has cornered Chris at the party, and Chris is like hiding under a table from Brad and Sarah's parents, and he sees her, and he's like, "You looking for something?"
Looking for something.
And then Brad and Sarah's parents mistake him for like one of the wait staff, and they're asking him
or like
questions.
a member of the party, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like they think he's there.
Yeah. So they start asking him questions about the food. They're like, "Oh my God, have you had one of these?" And he's like, "Excuse me." And then they're like, "Do you have the name of the caterer?" And he goes, "Caterer.
What the fuck are you talking about?
And it's just like, look, he's just a caricature. He's like a cartoon character.
He's such an amazing 80s villain.
Oh, the best. Yeah, so then they all run upstairs after escaping King Batty and see Sarah hanging off the building with Prince Batty. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to get Sarah, and Sarah's trying to get away from him. So Chris and the boys lower one of the ropes down to collect Sarah, and she like scales the building back inside the window.
Yeah, I think one thing if we haven't mentioned, we should mention is this building is sort of built as like, think of like sort of an octagonal prism, right? Like looking down on it's kind of like an octagon moving up, and then it's got like maybe a 45-degree cut through it. So the top of the building actually like runs on a bit of an angle, and so that's the part. They're on the part that's sort of sloping down, not like they're not hanging off the side of the building straight up and down.
Right.
Which is why they're able to kind of cling to the windows a little bit. And so they end up pulling up Sarah. They turn around, and Joe's there, and Joe says, I need you to give me the Playboy, because this is actually what they're after.
Yep.
And then the bad baddie shows up. Joe punches him like a badass, throws the magazine on him, and
Leaves.
They run in a very short order, pick up Brenda. They go back to the house, and on the way, they pass the parents who are on their way home. So it's a very Ferris Bueller style montage where, like, they're trying to get home before the parents. They know the parents are en route, and they, like, go super fast, run in the house. They all go upstairs, get ready. Chris cleans the house real quick and, like, literally jumps over the couch and opens a magazine
Right as they walk in the door.
The second the parents walk in the door.
Yeah.
And then, sort of classic, like, any troubles? Nope, no troubles. Nah!
Yep.
It wasn't Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse didn't deliver it. I don't know why I did that voice, but
Golly gee willikers. Oh boy.
ho ho!
Golly, that sure was fun.
I'm just reading the magazine. Ho ho!
It's not a Playboy.
Not this time.
I'm not on page 36.
Oh.
Somebody poked his chocolate button.
That's gross. Okay. That's so nasty. Okay. Movie pretty much just wraps up.
Yeah, I would say roll credits. Like, the charming college guy returns
pair of skates.
one of Sarah's skates that she forgot in his car, and Chris bumps into him on her way out. They kiss. Roll credits.
Yep. This is a pretty solid movie.
Fucking banging. Dude.
I love this movie.
You've made mentions about how it's like a wholesome movie, and like when the bad guys just get punched, and then that's it. They just leave them there. Like that's like an example of that. You know,
Drop like a sack of potatoes.
you just punch the bad guy, and well, that's it for him.
Yep.
They didn't take, like, the reciprocating saws that were, like, sitting to the side and, like, saw their head off just to make sure they're not coming after him.
Yeah.
Nope, just punched him.
Didn't tie him up. Didn't, nothing.
Didn't burn their fingertips off with acid.
Nope.
Not this time.
That's in the sequel.
That's in the sequel. Adventures in Babysitting 2, Electric Boogaloo.
So what are some things that we really liked about this movie?
The acting in particular, I can't say enough good things about Elizabeth Shue. She is phenomenal. She's amazing. Even though his part was very small in the movie, Vincent D'Onofrio's role was just, like, top-notch.
Yeah, I honestly, I really wouldn't stop there, though. I would say, like, there was not a single character, minor or major, in this movie whose
didn't deliver.
Whose acting was not superb. I honestly cannot point to a single character and be like, they didn't act well.
Yeah.
Even once.
Yeah.
It certainly helps, too, that, like, the side characters are meant to be caricatures, really.
Yes.
So, as long as, like, your main cast was able to kind of, like, nail their roles, the funny, overly animated mannerisms and appearances of everybody around them.
They could go as big as they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And it would
the old man with the phone booth. You're in my home!
Get out of my house!
Yeah. No, that was definitely solid. I really enjoyed the soundtrack.
I was gonna say
I
that
have
too.
a note for that myself. The soundtrack is fucking outstanding.
Fucking bangers the whole way.
Yeah, there wasn't like a score that really jumped out to me, but the soundtrack, all the little songs that kind of played throughout, I just loved it.
Oh, yeah.
It was very, and rightfully so, very blues heavy.
Yeah.
Which, like, seems... I honestly don't know, because it's been so long since I've seen this movie for the first time. Maybe, Mark, maybe you can weigh in on this, but, like, it seems like if you actually thought about it in the beginning, maybe you'd be like, that's kind of a curious choice. It's so obvious once you've seen the movie why they chose that sort of, like... To me, it seemed so fitting. But again, I'm probably super biased because the first time I saw this movie, I don't even remember the first time I saw this movie. But no, it's just, every song was amazing. And it was curated in a way that makes this movie so different from its contemporaries, but also, like, pretty much anything since.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It really, it's endearing.
It was just the right mix of, like, comedy, wholesome, and adventure.
Yes.
Right.
In the same way that The Mummy, I would say it's fundamentally different. I would say is a perfect mix of those three elements. This is a perfect mix of those three elements for what it is.
Oh, for sure.
The directing and the writing, I mean, just like I said, the movie moves in a very organic way.
Yeah.
There's one of my biggest issues is, like, lazy writing. I fucking hate when it's like, oh, we're now in this, like, new scene or this new act or, like, this new thing is happening because a character made a really fucking stupid decision that nobody in their right mind would ever fucking make. And we're here, and it was just because the writers were too lazy to come up with something better. This movie was so far from that.
Yeah.
Like, every transition seemed so organic. Every character was making perfectly reasonable decisions that led to another series of just crazy, outlandish events. But it didn't seem forced. It didn't seem contrived. It seemed so amazingly organic.
With the notable exception of her telling Mr. Nice Guy to leave the garage. I think that was kind of necessary
Correct.
for the story.
Correct.
But I would agree that's the only thing that kind of stood out to me as an outlier.
Yeah, one of my least favorite tropes is the whole, like, they get themselves into an impossible scrape and it just leads up to the climax of the event, and then it just cuts to them, coming out of it, and they're like, boy, what a crazy adventure that was. There's no fruition to it. There's no completion. This movie has none of that. Mm-hmm. Like, every wacky scenario that they get themselves into, you watch them get themselves out of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They put a bow on it.
Yeah.
And getting out of it almost invariably leads to the next thing, which is again, like we described, what makes a
across
great...
the rafters of a chop shop and exiting a second-story window onto the roof of the chop shop and escaping down a fire escape. Suddenly the big bad guys are after them and they're running for their lives again, like almost immediately.
Yeah. I think the way we typically discuss creativity is usually about, like, more nuanced elements of movies, but I feel like this movie, the creativity was just quite literally about the story. It's just, I can't think of another movie that's anything like this.
No.
It's fairly unique.
Yeah.
It has elements that are similar, like, we're drawing comparisons to the Mummy and they're like the actual, like, nuts and bolts of, like, an action adventure or, like, this stuff or that stuff, Baby's Day Out, whatever it happens to be, that are just sort of, like, kind of similar. But this movie pretty much stands alone in, like, the composite sum of
and stands tall.
All of its pieces.
Yeah, I would agree. And again, too, like, it's an adventure through and through, but it's still grounded in reality. The side characters are caricatures, like I've said a couple times, but it's all very just situational. Like, this could happen, more or less. Was there anything else that you guys liked that you wanted to call out before we move on?
I love the special effects.
It was all very practical.
Yeah. There really aren't any special effects. I mean,
There are none.
besides maybe the sparks flying on the side of the door as they go into the chop shop, but like,
They're probably they looked very real. I bet
Yeah.
you they're just real sparks. They're just not made with angle grinders.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and there'd be no reason for them to be grinding just around the door as you.
Unless they were cutting the door.
Was there anything that we didn't like?
I hate to say that there's nothing I didn't like.
You want to drum up something.
I do.
But I'm right there with you. There's nothing I don't like about this movie.
I think the only thing I would say is that Elizabeth Shue's character didn't put up enough of a fight in some of these situations. Like, she didn't have the normal amount of reticence that I would have in some of these situations, like being picked up by J.P. Pruitt on the side of the highway, or, you know, just dismissing hot new guy at the garage. You know, those are situations.
Well, dismissing hot new guy, I kind of get, like, maybe that was a flub up, that was a mistake. But, like, as far as accepting help from Pruitt, like, you got to think pre-cell phone.
Yeah. What else is she gonna do?
You are in the city on the side of the expressway.
No money, no wallet.
No money, no wallet, no ID.
And what are you gonna do? Ask him for a collateral?
Right, and he's literally in a tow truck, willing to tow you
For free.
to a garage and buy you a tire.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you have no option.
No.
I don't have any. I don't think I have any criticisms. I enjoyed it pretty thoroughly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm right there with you, whereas I just don't, I hate to leave a movie without saying something I don't like, but I got nothing. I fucking love this movie.
Yeah.
And this movie gets, unfortunately for me, this movie gets extra points because of just the nostalgia factor is just so strong.
And the hotness factor of Elizabeth Shue.
Oh!
Yeah, but no, I mean, it holds up. I don't have any nostalgia for this movie, but it holds up.
I'm glad you said that, because, like, that, to me, validates everything that I feel inside.
Yeah, no, same.
Like,
Because, like, I saw this movie probably 18 or 20 years ago, and it's been so long that it feels like I'm watching it for the first time. But then every now and then I'll watch a part of it and I'm like, oh my god, I fucking love this scene. You know?
Yeah.
So there is nostalgia there.
Yeah. I suppose the closest thing that it did feel very, like, 80s. This isn't a criticism. I'm trying to...
it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah. No. Well, I'm just trying to, like add to, like, this movie's not nostalgic for me, but, like, there are elements within it that feel nostalgic, not because the movie is, but it's just very 80s adventure-y, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you don't have to have seen it to connect with the vibe that it
right.
puts out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I love 80s shit, and I just happen to have never seen, The Breakfast Club, and then you watch it and you're like, fucking right on. Like, that's my movie.
I know a ton of people who have never seen The Breakfast Club, and it always astounds me.
Oof. They should get on that.
I know.
Okay, so what quotes we got?
So it's a very quotable movie.
Fucking infinitely quotable.
Absolutely.
I have one quote, but, like, I'm laughing and giggling throughout this whole movie, so, like, my one quote is not...
Not an accurate reflection of how quotable this movie is.
Yeah. Okay, so let me set the scene. They hop into the car, lock the doors when they're running away from the guy who was sleeping with JB's wife or whatever. And
The salami slipper.
the slipper of Salama. And the carjacker kind of, like, sits up. And they're talking to the carjacker as he's kind of driving to the chop shop. And they're just kind of, like, asking him... Or they're just talking about what he does. Isn't this dangerous? And he says, I like danger. And Chris's character kind of turns, well, you should try babysitting.
Which I'm pretty sure that line is in the preview.
It has to be.
I have vague recollections of, even though this movie, like, preceded me, especially back in the day with, like, VHSs and shit, you would get ads for other movies, right, at the beginning.
Coming soon to a video store near you.
Yeah. Coming soon to home video cassette. I know you guys have had this experience, right? Where you watched a VHS when you were a kid so much that, like, even if you never saw the movies that they were advertising,
you could still quote it.
You were intimately familiar with those movies because you watched those commercials so much. I remember seeing ads for this movie through that medium, and I seem to recall that. Like, I like Danger. You should try Babysitting.
Yeah, it's a perfectly quotable little ditty.
So I have 3 quotes. So after they get into J.P. Pruitt's truck, this guy calls in over the CB and he's like, "Hey, John."
It was Dawson.
Oh, yeah, it was Dawson. So Dawson gets in on the CB and he's like, "Hey, John, I just went by your place." "Yeah? What did you see?" "You're not going to like it." "What did you see?" "That car was parked out front." And then JP goes, "She's with that bastard again."
Gonna gallop.
My second quote is they're on the subway after, a series of unfortunate events, and they seem to be safe for the time being, and Chris sort of looks up at the ceiling, sort of absent-mindedly, and goes, "Brenda, if you're dead, I wish I was with you."
That was a good line.
My last quote is as they're heading into the chop shop and they see the sparks flying on either side of the garage door. This is my favorite quote. Brad goes, "Where are we going?" And Daryl goes, "To hell." Kind of exciting, don't you think?
Oh my god. Yeah, because it does, like, before they, like, get into the shop, like, it's really ominous.
Okay, I have like a shit ton of quotes because this movie's so fucking quotable. I'm going to try and run through these real quick. So, when they're driving into the city, Brad, who will not let this, like, Chris has got a boyfriend named Mike thing go, is talking about the boyfriend and asking her questions about him. And it gets revealed that his name is Mike Todwell and he drives a red Camaro and his license plate is so cool. And Daryl's like, "Oh, he's the guy who beat me up last summer for touching his car, which I didn't do." And she's like, "No, Mike wouldn't do that." And he goes, "Yes, he did. He kicked my ass. Do you want to see the footprint?"
Yeah.
And then when she's telling the story, she's like, again, this is the same scene basically. They're in the car driving into the city, and she's telling the ghost story about the guy with the hook hand, and she's like, "And the babysitter checked on the kids, and they were fine." She breathed a sigh of relief, but then she approached the kids' beds and she looked closer. She realized they didn't have any faces, and then Sarah just goes, "Oh my god!"
Oh my god!
It was like they didn't have any faces. Oh my god!
That was a good
so
scene.
good. And then there was a line where J.B. Pruitt, after talking to them, and they're like scared by his hook hand when they're on the side of this freeway, and he goes, "You kids must be from the suburbs." All right, I got 2 more. I'm sorry. I fucking love the quotes in this movie. Oh, no, I got 1 more. I already did the, I wouldn't get out of the car in this neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So after Brad gets stabbed in the foot in the subway, and they're leaving and they're looking for the hospital, Chris goes down to, like, touch it, and Daryl goes, "Don't touch it. It could get infected. He could get anything. Tetanus, lockjaw, rabies, scabies, emphysema."
Checks out. Salmonella.
It's not a quote from this movie, but I couldn't resist letting it go because you know how much I love bad puns. The scene in which J.B. Pruitt is getting in a fist fight with the salami slipper. They're just like throwing punches back and forth, and I just leaned over to Colin and I said, that J.B. Pruitt's got a mean right hook.
I had to give it up for that. That was a pretty sick dad joke.
Yeah.
Willa, if you're listening to this 20 years in the future, your dad's got it.
Yeah.
He's got it all.
Also, I'm sorry. I don't know what for yet, but I'm sure you know.
He's not currently wearing white New Balance shoes stained green from mowing the lawn.
No, you make me take my shoes off.
Because I made him take them off at the door.
Yeah.
Are we Laura Dern?
I believe we're Laura Dern.
Are we ready to
Let's rate this biatch.
Rate Damave?
Alright, I'll jump in here first here. I'm going to give this bad boy, man, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to go high with it. I'm going to go 8.2.
Yes.
Hook hands.
Good answer.
Yeah, you took mine.
Ooh!
Nice.
Now I got to think of one.
That's right.
Because I didn't have a backup. I didn't have another one loaded in the chamber.
You guys just have these
gotta
fucking
have a backup.
You guys have these on tap.
Yeah.
I just don't.
To be fair, I start thinking of them 30 minutes prior.
I know, that's the thing, is I forget to think about them.
All right. I will give this one an 8.4 Miss Marches.
Oh.
Fuck, that's really good.
Miss March. So there's like a running gag that Chris looks a lot like Miss March from that particular Playboy edition that like we see like 50 times throughout this movie. So yeah, it comes up many times. Miss March.
There, Colin.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Oh, I'm a thinking good.
Thinking spinking.
Oh, okay, I think I got it. Okay, so I was going to give this movie an 8.2 like Mark. I actually had that rating from like early on. But because you went 8.4, I actually think I'm going to go 8.3 and just go right in between you guys.
Yeah, right in the middle.
So
like a sandwich.
I'm going to mention that I think this is the most clustered we've ever been on a movie.
I think you're right.
And I'm shocked that it's so high. Like we're not just clustered. We're not like clustered at like 6.7.
We're clustered at
We're
the
clustered
top.
pretty fucking high. So I'm going to go 8.3 Jumbo Sewer Rats.
Ooh. I'm going to kill it.
So good. Okay, so are we learned it?
I think so.
All right. Well, that is all for the All Crap Review. Thank you for listening. If you have ideas for movie reviews, please email us at 3, that is the number 3, men and a basement at gmail.com. Please be sure to check out The Andersons.
Oh, yeah.
Who have been touring since 1971. They are all in their like mid to late 60s, and they sound just awful.
Yeah. Tinnitus and
emphysema.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rabies, scabies, you name it. They've been all over the subway system in Chicago.
Yeah. Parts of them are still there.
When they can actually make it on stage, they are joined typically by 38 caliber Phallus.
Oh, yeah.
Do not miss their song Cold Steel, because that is primo.
I mean, the lead singer is a big dick, but...
Oh, total dick. I mean, 38 caliber dick at least. Dick of a high caliber, we should say.
Yeah.
And, if you can find him, her, them, they, go check out King Batty, because it's a hell of a show, but you might not be able to find him. And then...
It's very mysterious.
No. I mean, I have no idea. King Batty is...
Terribly mysterious.
Terribly mysterious. That's his power. He's mysterious.
That's terribly mysterious.
And then, whatever you do, opening up for all of these bands, do not miss Drunken Maiden! Drunken Maiden! Yeah! Play Freebird!
It's like Guar adjacent to it.
Jog for the Hills is one of my favorites.
Jog for the hills, but not too fast.
Jog for your life,
'cause I'm out of breath.
Checking the Fitbit.
I'm not saying we make other people laugh, because we probably don't. But I laugh pretty hard.
Yeah.
We make ourselves laugh, and that's what matters, right?
That's why
if you can't laugh at yourself.
Right. It's the power of friendship.
Yeah.
Am I right? All right. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, and wherever you find your podcasts. And until then, I am Colin McLeod.
Mark Culp here.
Action Jackson.
And we will see you in cyberspace. Drunken Maiden! Drunken Maiden!
Resner.